particular place, I would definitely not want the people of this place to be dying of a particular disease, right? Because that basically means I am not doing a good job at keeping people safe. And in my rule, these all individuals seem to be dying. So from the political point of view, okay, or from the point of view of, let's say, the general population's benefit, if all of these individuals are gonna die, so I have this particular place here, okay, just some random country right now, okay, and out of the complete number of individuals in this country, okay, so I'm gonna plot some people here. So now let's say these are the total number of people I have, okay, and rest of it is all the resources. So let's have the resources here. Okay, so rest of this place contains all of the resources. Right now I have some people and I have some resources. Now what if all of these people were dying? Okay, technically it might be a good thing, because then there is a lowered stress onto my environment, there are more resources available for more people. But if all of these people are dying of a disease, it means that there is a negative impact on this population. Okay, death, or you can say mortality, is always a negative impact on the population, because if the reproductive population dies away, there will be less number of offsprings that would be formed, and lower number of offsprings would result in lower number of output of the new individuals, which would then decline the number of total population, and then it would mean that that population may not be able to survive for a longer period. Okay, so in this sense it is an indicative of bad infrastructure, it is a indicative of bad healthcare facilities. Okay, many people dying of a particular disease is also an indicative of deceased population, or population that has a certain kind of mutation. Okay, in the animal population, mutations are a very huge cause of death of organisms. Okay, it could also indicate toxicity in the resources, it could also indicate that the resources that they have are not enough to sustain the population. Okay, so individuals dying because of certain negative impacts is a bad thing. But if an individual is dying in a particular region, or a population is losing its individuals, and the reason why these individuals are dying is because of old age, it is actually a good indicator. It basically means that the resources that these individuals were surviving on were actually very, very sufficient for all of these individuals to survive. Okay, so this is something that you need to understand. Now what I would want to do, okay, we have finished this particular population chapter. Okay, we want to go over to the next chapter that you have. Just give me a minute. Okay, I'm just looking at your syllabus here, and I seem to have printed it a bit ulta. All right, so now can you tell me the name of the next chapter that you have in your syllabus for your examination? If I'm looking at this correctly, you have drugs, you have organisms and the environment, and you have humans and the environment. Is that correct? Am I looking at it correctly?
Yes.
Yes. So can you tell
Yes.
me what you know about the humans and our interaction with the environment? What kind of interactions do we have with our environment? Do we have positive interactions, which means are we helping our environment, or do we have negative interactions, which means that we are harming our environment, or do we have neutral interactions? We are not harming, but nor are we causing some benefit. Yes. What would you say? What is your take on this particular thing? No take? it cannot be that you have
Harming.
absolutely no point to say. Tell me. Yes. Go on, go on. Are you putting it up on the chat? Harming. We are harming the environment. Ishan, what are you doing to harm the environment, sir? Yes. You shouldn't be doing that if you're doing something to harm the environment. Don't you think it's a bad thing? Why are you going around harming environment?
All humans in the matter are just like specific people.
Okay. What else would you say? Tell me. So if you look into, see, the first thing I'll tell you is, in order to study for your IGCSE, the first thing that you want to do is get a printout of your syllabus. Just put it in front of you and you would see what exactly I'm trying to ask you. Okay, so when I say that I am trying to understand what kind of interactions we have with our environment, the first thing you should say that we are dependent on environment, which means that we seem to have a negative sort of relationship with the environment. We are not giving anything back as such. If this is my son, okay, not like child, but like sun son, okay, and if this is a plant, what do we do with this particular knowledge? You know, there's a sun and there's a plant. What do you do with this knowledge? Where do you use this knowledge? We use this knowledge to basically extract the nutrients from this particular plant so that they can be consumed for getting energy, right? So this particular plant was making energy for itself. What are we doing? We are using this energy for ourselves. Okay, so this is the first, sorry, this is the first kind of interaction that we have with the environment. Okay, we seem to have both kinds of effects. Then if you talk about a certain degree of population, okay, so I'm just gonna make this particular chart here. Okay, let's say this is my entire population. Okay, there is a part of this particular population who is completely ignorant of the effects that they have on their environment. So let's say some people who never really went to school, some of you who were very very young, let's say 4 years ago, when you definitely did not know what kind of impact it has on the environment if you just simply take a water bottle made up of plastic and just like throw it in the trash, okay, without actually thinking of what kind of byproducts it is going to form. Okay, or there is some part of this particular population who is basically never come into contact with certain incidents where they might think these actions could have a negative impact on the environment, such as people who stay in villages and there has been absolutely no industrial growth. Okay, so this is a population that is completely ignorant of their influence on the environment. Then you have a group of population, okay, this is a part of your population here, which is aware of the effects it has on the environment but isn't really prepared or equipped to help the environment. Okay, can you tell me who will fall in this group, who knows there is a cause, there is a harm caused to the environment, but are right now unable to do anything about it? Yes, who would fall in this particular population? Would anyone fall under such group? If you're putting it up on the chat, quickly type it, please. Which kind of population do you think you belong? The one that is ignorant. So I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna write an I over here. I is going to stand for ignorant. Okay. Then H is going to stand for helpless, which is they know they're doing something, but maybe they're not in the financial position to do something, or maybe they're just like, we don't want to do nothing, we're just fine with wherever we are. And then there is another group of population which is aware of its impact. Do you fall under I, do you fall under H, or do you fall under A? This is one syllable
A.
answer. You're A, so you're aware and you are going to be doing something to help it, right? This is the exact reason why this particular chapter is of importance for our study. Okay, so you are right now in the population which is aware that we are having a certain amount of negative impact on our environment, and are at some point of your life ready to do something about it. Maybe not right away, because right now your focus is your IGCSE exams, or maybe like the mock exams to go to the IGCSE level. But you are going to be in a part of those people who want to do something for the environment, because you understand how crucial it is that we take some steps. Okay, this is the reason why we are going to be talking about this topic now. What has been a major cause of our negative impact on the population? So the first time when our negative impact on the population began was when we had the Industrial Revolution. Okay, now if any one of you took history in your 8th standard, okay, you would know that you had this chapter called as Russian Revolution. Okay, and it was somewhere around the same time you started with your modern era. Okay, the modern era of industrialization, which was in your 18th century. That is when most of your industry started to come up. Initially they started to come up in the European countries, and then they slowly spread to your eastern side as well. Okay, so 1800s were the period of industrial growth and industrial revolution, and that is also what led to many countries getting their freedom and fighting for their own rights, and all that falana dimkana aggressive stuff took place. Okay, it was also during the same period that we started to notice the negative impacts that we have onto the environment, basically where our agricultural policies changed. Okay, where let's say initially if we were carrying out agriculture in more sustainable manner, now we started to carry out agriculture using certain chemicals and synthetic fertilizers, and which started to have a sort of toxic impact onto your land and the yield that the land would give. Okay, we started to carry out mass production of certain substances. Like for example, initially you would see that clothing, okay, was a very personal attribute of an individual. Every family would have a particular way in which their clothing was made, and this clothing was usually made by the individuals of a particular family in the village or maybe in that town. But as industrialization took place in the world, okay, a lot of industries which would create clothing came up. Okay, today we have so many brands of clothing. One of the most important contributor to the global pollution is your textile industry. Okay, no other industry creates the amount of pollution that your textile industry creates, and the major reason for that is the amount of dyes and the amount of synthetic material that goes into making your clothes. Okay, so every single time when you buy a branded cloth, you have contributed to deaths of multiple people, and you have also contributed to a certain amount of global pollution. Okay, I'm in no way trying to tell you that, you know, do not buy branded clothes, but just whenever you do that, you need to be a bit aware of what the industry actually does and where this particular material is sourced from. Okay, so just be a little aware of what each brand stands for, and where do they carry out their production, and does it have any negative impact. The denims that you wear are almost 80% of the denim that you wear is a result of child labor. So all of the people who are in the business of denim production Most of the people are young ones. Okay, they're very young children, and they've been forced to work in these industries for a very low amount of wage. Okay, so the denim industry is one of the most major contributor to our negative influence on the environment. Now this happens to be a physical kind of pollution that we are causing. There are certain indirect kind of influences that we have on the environment. Like for example, I am pretty sure you're aware about this, that we are in sort of a need of this particular drug, right? We discussed about the chapter drugs, right? We already know that certain drugs are going to be good for you and certain drugs are going to be bad for you. Right now, because there's a pandemic going on, okay, there is this particular drug in the sense of a vaccine, okay, which is something that everyone in the world wants, right? Everyone, you might have heard even your parents talking about this, that oh yeah, everyone needs this particular vaccine and no one seems to have it, and there's so much amount of rush in the market to get your hands on this particular drug. The thing is that every single drug that comes into the market comes from your pharmaceutical companies. Okay, so we are going to write over here pharma. And the pharmacies obviously use chemicals to make these drugs, right? For except like your Ayurvedic pharmacies, which do not use the actual chemicals. They're not going to use organic and inorganic chemicals. They're going to use your byproducts of plants. Okay, but nevertheless, those are also chemicals. So all these chemicals, okay, are going to be used, and they are going to be either filtered, or they're going to be purified, or they're going to be put into certain reactions, and then their byproducts are just left out into the water. Okay, so let's just look at an example. So let's say A is a medicine that we need. Okay, in order to make A, I need to take up X, Y, and Z substances. Okay, once I take these three substances, I can make the product A. That means X plus Y plus Z makes A. But during this entire process, E, F, and G are the byproducts that are released in the water. What do you think would happen if these substances are not neutral in their nature? What if these substances are maybe acidic? So let's say E is acidic, your F is basic, and G is neutral. What kind of effects do you think these are going to have onto the population of the fish that stays in the water? Yes, anyone has anything to add? What kind of effect is substance E going to have on this particular fish? What kind of effect is F going to have on the fish? And what kind of effect is G going to have on the fish? Come on, quickly. I just need to know if it is going to be positive, negative, or no effect.
G will have
F
no.
will have negative effects and G will have no effect.
Sorry, I think you unmuted yourself a little late, so I couldn't hear anything you said. What kind of effect is E
E
having?
and F will have E and F will have negative effect and G will have no effect.
No effect. Anyone has anything else to say? Yes, Ishan, I saw that you also unmuted yourself. Anything else?
No,
No?
the same thing.
Same thing. All right. So basically, this is what would be an outcome of this particular kind of interaction. Okay, now we don't most of the times even realize that these substances are going to have some sort of effect onto your individuals that may not be directly affected by the substances that are released, but these are the kind of influences that humans have on their environment. May not be intentionally, but unintentionally this is something that happens. Okay, along with this, you would notice, and I'm sure you are already aware, that we use a branch of science, okay, to our benefit, which is called as the biotechnology, right? Can you give me one effect, or not effect, one example of how biotechnology has been a boon for our population? Boon is like Vardhan. Yes. How has biotechnology been good for us? Anyone? First, do you think that biotechnology and having the understanding of biotechnology has been good? If you think it has been good, then how? Yes,
Sometimes it's good.
sometimes good. So how would you say sometimes is it good?
Different variety of crops
Okay, drugs.
or different species of crops have been introduced.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything more? So I say that biotechnology, or my, so I did study the some part of biotechnology when I was studying in my college, and I say that having that understanding has not been a good influence on my environment or environment around me, because after I learned a certain things about this biotechnology, I may have used those concepts in sort of a negative way for the environment. So let's say I know that you can have a particular bacteria. Okay, so I'm just gonna say over here, I know that I can use a particular bacterium. Okay, and what I can do with this bacterium is I could introduce this bacterium into a environment. Okay, specifically in a petri plate. Okay, so petri plate is something which is like made up of glass. Okay, it's sort of like a bowl, but what you do is you don't eat food in this. Okay, what you do is you grow the bacteria in this, and then you introduce a certain kind of pathogen, and these bacteriums get affected by those pathogens, and they start producing antibodies against that pathogen. Okay, so like for example, if I am suffering from a particular disease, my body is going to try to fight off that disease. The body of the bacterium also tries to fight off that disease, and then what we do is, okay, humans, we take these bacteriums and we kill them. Okay, first we introduced a pathogen inside their body, then we take them and we kill them so that we could extract the antibodies out of them, put them into vials, and then inject those antibodies for humans so that we never get affected by that pathogen. Isn't that a wrong thing to do? Isn't that so unethical? Doesn't that seem wrong that just because someone is not able to fight for themselves or go to the court and say that this is wrong, we seem to be taking advantage of the bacterium? Do you think it's a good thing?
It is not a good thing, but it helps us.
It's not a good thing, but it comes to our advantage. So we seem to be doing that. So this is basically how biotech has been a boon, but it comes with certain disadvantages. Okay, another way that biotechnology has influenced the environment around us is by having some excess understanding of certain things. Okay, so now let's say you are learning biology here today, right? You have a certain number of chapters in your biology that are going to tell you about the secrets of your body. Like for example, you're going to learn something called as a stem cell, and you know that a stem cell is a cell that can turn into any kind of cell in your body. Now you guys are just children, right? So you're gonna not think of, oh, how can I use this illegally? I hope you don't think of that every single time when you learn something. I hope you don't go around and be like, how can I use this illegally? Don't do that. Okay. But there are some individuals out there who learn these concepts and put them to a very bad use. Okay. Like, for example, stem cells are extracted out of the young babies, okay, or during the period when, you know, a baby is being delivered. Okay. So what they do is they sort of extract these stem cells, and they use these stem cells to grow organs. Okay. Now you would think, you know, like, what is an individual even going to do with organs? Okay. What, it's not a like walking talking individual, it's just some organs. But these organs that are grown from the stem cells are then sold into the black market for a higher cost. Okay. Which means that even if there is an individual here who needs a particular body part, let's say they need a heart, and there's another individual who obviously is dead. Okay. You do not take heart out of a live person. So there's a person who is dead and has a heart, but this heart does not make it to this person. Instead, a heart that is grown in the lab and may not be, you know, that efficient in its function, because it has literally never been inside the body of an animal or an organism or a human being, is being sold to this person for a higher price, saying that this one never really existed. There is no heart waiting for you anywhere, there is no person to donate it to you. So what you need to do is you need to take this heart, and it comes at a higher price. Okay, so let's say this comes at triple the price of this one, but you still have to buy it. Okay, so this is where you are going to misuse the understanding of your biotechnology. Another way in which we are sort of having a negative impact onto the environment is where we make all of these fertilizers. Okay, these fertilizers are again made up of certain chemicals, and what we do is we add them to the soil. For a first time, when you add these fertilizers to your soil, it's going to be really great. It's going to be like, "Mwah, awesome." You're going to get ample amount of yield, and your plants are going to thrive on it, and you're going to have like this awesome bloom of maybe vegetables or grains or whatever it is that you grow. When you do it for the second time, though, your land is going to have accumulation of all of these substances. Okay. Now, before I talk about this particular part, tell me, have you ever heard of something called as biomagnification? Do you know what this term is? Yes? A very large word, but do you know what biomagnification is? No? Okay, so I'm going to tell you. Okay, so now imagine there is this one particular insect. Let's say mosquitoes, because I absolutely hate them. Okay, so let's say there is this particular mosquito, and I'm like super annoyed by mosquitoes. So what I do is I bring in a particular toxic substance and I kill this mosquito, right? Now you studied the food chain, and you know that there is another organism that feeds on this mosquito, let's say a frog. Okay, so when this particular frog is going to eat, let's say multiple of such mosquitoes. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 5 mosquitoes here. Okay, when my frog is going to eat these mosquitoes, what is going to happen? Some amount of this toxin is going to enter in the body of the frog. Okay, then later when this frog is going to be eaten up by let's say a snake. Okay, now obviously there's not just one frog like this that exists. There are going to be multiple frogs like this who have also consumed the insects that died because of this toxin. And therefore, what you would observe is that the snake would have higher concentration of that toxin in his body. and so on and so forth. Okay, till you come to a point where there is an organism with the highest amount of toxin in its body, and it causes the death of that organism. When you see this kind of magnified effect of a particular toxin, okay, or a particular factor, it is called as biomagnification, an effect which was sort of expected, or which was designed to affect a very small group of individuals or a very small group of organisms, goes on getting increased in its intensity, and then damages a completely unrelated organism. You never even intended that organism to get hurt or to face mortality, but it seems to happen, and it happens because every single tropic level that you go up, because the number of individuals consumed is going to go on increasing. Okay, what you are going to be observing is that the effect of that particular toxin goes on increasing. This is called as biomagnification. If this question is ever asked to you, would you be able to talk about it? Would you be able to explain it in easier words? Or do I need to go over this part again? Yes? Will you be able to explain this? Aman, if this question is asked in the exam, will you be able to write about this? Biomagnification? See, yes, no. This is so boring if you people don't answer at all. Okay, I'm just gonna assume that you would be able to answer this. Okay. Now, apart from this, there are some more other things that we do in the environment. Okay. Now, I'm gonna tell you something which I'm sure you might have heard, but there could be some people who may not know about this. Dogs, who everyone love, okay, are not a natural species of organisms on the surface of the earth. Okay, there existed foxes, and there existed wolves, and there existed hyenas, but dogs were not a naturally thriving species of organisms. Okay, what we did is we selectively bred certain organisms, and we made dogs. Okay, like not very aggressive species, not very demanding kind of an organism has been created, which is dog. And every now and then you would see there is a different kind of dog that people talk about. So there are corgis, and there are chihuahuas, and there are huskies, and there are labradors, and there are German shepherds, and so many dogs that you talk about, right? All of this is a result of a particular technique which is called as selective breeding. Okay, what is selective breeding? Selective breeding is where you take two organisms, okay, and then you choose the good parts of that organism. So let's say this organism, there are these characteristic traits that I like. Here there are some traits of this organism that I like, and then what I do is I build an organism from these traits, which is nothing but a direct merging of those desired characters. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this particular trait now to make more organisms of the same type. Okay, this is called as selective breeding. Can you tell me what could go wrong? It seems like a very good thing, right? You are taking only the characters that you like, and you're not taking the characters you don't like. I don't see anything wrong in this. Why is this bad then? If you're just taking the characters you like and discarding whatever you don't like, how can this be bad? You're not really harming anything. Yes?
Mutation.
Sorry? Mutations. Okay, you're causing mutations. But then how is this bad for environment? I mean, these organisms are just, I'm just making more of them, isn't it? The older ones are just like, I don't know, somewhere. but I'm making new organisms, so how could that be bad? Shouldn't that be good? I'm not killing, I'm making new. Yes? What could go wrong here? So what could go wrong, okay, I'll tell you, is that when you make these new organisms, the older ones may not have the equal chance to survive. Like for example, this is something that we've done with bananas, okay? Not just with your dogs, but we've done something like this with bananas. So today, if you look at a banana, it's such an appealing fruit to eat. Like, I don't know about you, but I think bananas are like really great. Okay, so you have these bananas and you seem to have absolutely no objection to eat these bananas because they look yummy, and there's just literally all pulp and no seeds, annoying seeds like other fruits do. But in reality, that's not how bananas existed. Okay, in the original fruit, there were a lot of seeds, and that made a particular, you would say, difficulty for this fruit to sort of being consumed, because there were so many seeds. The per unit pulp area that you could consume was lesser. So we took help of biotechnology and we created a variety of banana which would have lesser seeds and more pulp. And then everyone was like, man, this is good, we should do this. And so we started to grow these genetically modified bananas, and it has come to a point today where the original banana is nowhere to be seen, because then everyone stopped growing those original bananas, and they all wanted this hybrid variety which could be grown quickly, which could be sold easily in the market, and everyone likes it. And it just kind of became a thing of the market, and the original fruit got lost somewhere. So if one day we lose that particular last plant, or the last tree of banana, we would never, okay, literally never be able to grow the original banana fruit. And that is something that is on the head of the concept of biotechnology. This is something that has happened because we do not um, have the original fruit with us anymore. We only have something which is called as genetically modified plant or genetically modified organism. We also have genetically modified organism. I gave you an example of dog, and I also gave you example of a plant which is banana. Okay, so these are the implications that we are having, and we may not even realize when we do these. Okay, another way in which we could be having a negative impact on environment is, let's say this is a normal landscape. Okay, there is a particular region. Okay, and in this particular region there is ample amount of lush grass that grows. Okay, so like very very beautiful place, and it has ample amount of land, it has ample amount of grassland. Okay, and what happens over here is, because there is ample amount of land present, all of the individuals of this particular place started to keep livestock. Do you know what is livestock? Livestock is having sheeps and goats and all these animals that can be consumed. Okay, now when people start to keep these livestock, okay, let's make it like this. Here, okay, certain amount of livestock can be reared on certain grasslands. That means that if there are just a maintained number of individuals growing, it is no trouble for the grassland, because there is ample amount of food available for these organisms to consume. And it cannot happen that these organisms will not have any food to consume. But imagine if we, instead of having this limited number of organisms, if we started to have double the number of organisms on the same space. Okay, so you have the same space, but the number of individuals that you are growing are increasing. Okay, if this tends to happen, then the resources would not be enough for the organisms, and slowly what you would observe is that there would be piling up of these animals, and they will have no food to eat. In that case, all the land which was earlier not industrialized or not used for the purpose of this pasturing would then be converted into pasture land, which means that slowly and slowly we would encroach more into the environment. Okay, so we would grow more land into industrially used land, or maybe we would convert more land into a pasture land so that we could sustain all of these organisms. And in that way, the natural environment would be completely manipulated, and we would lose all those natural resources simply because we were stockpiling. Okay, this is something that you might have even heard of when that stupid thing about the tissues was going on. Okay, so you might have heard that there were people who were stockpiling the tissue, and therefore there was absolutely no tissue in the environment or in the market, not environment, in the market. And therefore a lot of other industries came up during that time who started to manufacture tissue paper. That means that during that particular period of pandemic, there was 20% increase in the cut down of plants than there ever was for the production of tissue paper. It wasn't even that important commodity, but everyone stockpiled it, and it had a drastic negative impact on the environment. Okay, so this is something that we do. Now, in this particular process, I hope you notice that when we were encroaching upon new land, there could have been certain variety of organisms that stayed here, right? You don't know because you never noticed about them. So there could have been some insects who were staying here. There could have been some other animals who inhabited this particular land. And when you start to encroach upon this particular area, they have no land to stay, and in that manner you would cause something which is called as land encroachment and destruction of habitat. So I'm going to write over here, destruction of habitat. Okay, this is another influence that we have on the organisms. Okay, along with this, what we also do is, because we introduce these new organisms in an environment. Okay, so let's consider another example. So let's say this is a pond that I have here. Okay, so this is a pond, and obviously it is surrounded by particular grassland like this. Okay, oops. Yeah, so this pond is surrounded by a grassland like this. Now, let's say that I introduce a particular kind of fish here. Okay, there were already some fishes already staying here. Okay, so let's say the orange ones are the natural habitants of this particular place. Okay, they have always been staying here. But now what I did is, because I found this place, I started to introduce a new variety of fishes here. Okay, so that I could use these fishes for selling in the market, and what I could do out of that is gain some monetary benefit. Okay, now this is the reason why I started to introduce these fishes in my new environment. They did not belong here, but I have introduced them. Now what they would do is, primarily they would fight with the original inhabitants of this place for the resources, right? So if all of these are the food products, then there would be a competition for this particular food, and this will also alter my food, alter the food web, right? Now initially, where, let's say these are crustaceans, okay, and there were 10 predators for this crustacean. Now because of introduction of a new species of fish, there is more amount of crustacean that is consumed, okay, there are more number of maybe molluscans or crustaceans like your prawns or crabs and stuff are consumed in higher quantity, and because they're consumed in higher quantity, we could lead to destruction of their entire population, which is an undesirable effect on their population. Okay, so this is just something, you know about it. This has been happening for a very long time everywhere, and may not be just for the purposes of studying, but you might have heard of these things happening on news, or you might have heard of them happening when maybe you were watching some YouTube videos, or you were just maybe reading a newspaper. You do come across such news articles, okay, and it becomes very important for new generations to come to understand how damaging these effects can be if nothing is done to stop these activities from taking place. Very soon we may not have an environment to protect. Right now we have something to protect, but it may come very soon to a point where none of us would have to fight for an environment, because it just simply would not exist, because there would not be an environment to fight for. We may not have to fight for it at all. Okay, so this is the basic purpose why we need to understand this particular point. At this point, I spoke for an hour about this particular topic. Is there anyone who understood maybe 10% of what I spoke? If the question comes, do you have enough data to talk about it and write for 3 or 4 marks? Do you think you have that? I have a message on my screen. Ria says she has enough data to go on. What about the other people? Do you have enough data to go on and write about this? See, the entire point of this particular chapter is, we know that you know this, okay, but the entire point of this entire chapter being here is to see if you can put your understanding in words and also present your data in a logical manner. Okay, so when we say that, okay, just let's say I say overstocking or maybe pasture lands are bad for me, or they are bad for the environment. Why are they bad is something that you should be able to explain. If I say that genetic engineering of animals or genetic engineering of plants is something which is really bad, you know it is bad, I know it is bad. The question is, why is it bad? Okay, so I need you to read through your textbook, and when we meet for our next class, I'm trying to see if I can have one more class this week so that I could finish this chapter before your exams start, and so we can also have a small revision sort of a thing. So what I'm going to do is, first thing, I'm going to stop with the recording part. Okay,